Happy Sabbath. Today is a great day. It's not only the seventh day Sabbath, but it is also the seventh day of Tabernacles. So it's a double Sabbath, and obviously tomorrow being the last great day. That's the eighth day. So we have like 48 hours of Sabbath, which is quite unique. And it's not common to most people, but it's on Yah's calendar. And we are thankful that we are part of his agenda. At least we have chosen to be part of his agenda and to follow him. So today we want to look at the topic personal sin and corporate responsibility. Personal sin and corporate responsibility. And by corporate responsibility, we mean that it should be known that when Yah made a covenant with us, he made a covenant with Israel. And Israel is a body of people. And therefore, when one member of that body does something, it has implications for all of that body. We need to understand that. Israel is one body, and we are related to each other by way of the way we conduct ourselves. And so we want to use this morning the periscope of Yah's word to show how one man's sin affected the whole camp of Israel, and that principle runs all the way through the scriptures. We've got to understand that. So this morning, as we perambulate through the city of Ai, we are here to inspect and to inquire the very nature of Israel's failure to conquer the city of Ai. Why were they not able to conquer the land that was given to them? So we're using the word this morning as a periscope like we normally do, as opposed to a telescope. A telescope really allows you to look at things that is in your sight, your line of sight, whereas the periscope allows you to look at things that you don't normally see. And that's what we want to do this morning. And so turn with me to the book of Yahashua, and the seventh portion of that book, and we're going to look at our subject. And the word here says, but the children of Israel committed a trespass regarding that which is under the ban, for Achan, the son of Carmi, son of Zabdi, the son of Zerah, of the tribe of Yehudah, took off that which is under the ban. I'm reading from the scriptures. And so immediately, this verse, this passage should hold your conscience to attention. Notice that the sentence here starts with the word but. But. Now, ask yourself, what part of speech is but. But is an adversative conjunction. It expresses contrast between two statements. And what the writer is here teaching you is to contrast what happened back in Jericho and what happened in Ai. We see that Israel, coming out of that experience in Jericho, that victory that Yah gave unto them, that the walls came down and they conquered Jericho without pulling a sword, because all the work that was done, it was Yahweh who did it. But now they have gone into Ai to conquer it, and like that peacock with its ever colorful feathers in the air, head up with confidence, so it was Israel with its iridescent plumage, that peacock-like confident. We have conquered Jericho, therefore we will take Ai. And sometimes we really need to stop and think that in life, our most vulnerable time is when we are in the most strongest experience. What do I mean? Think of that man we call Goliath. Full of strength, full of height, recognizing that Israel was afraid of him, he taunted them daily, believing that he could whip them at his command. Until one day a young boy we call David passed by and heard his insolence, understood his impudence, and asked the question, what did he say? Goliath, like a peacock, taunted Israel and made fun of Israel's Yah. But David heard it, and David swung that sling. And when we heard the groan, we know that it was from a stone, and the giant was dead. Sometimes in our strongest victory, it is then we become the most vulnerable. You remember Samson. He took a jawbone of an ass and he whipped the Philistines. And he would beat them up regularly. And he would say the refrain, whenever the Israelites come, I will just do as I did before. Wake me up when they come. But in chapter 16, in verse 20 of Judges, we read, but he knew not that the Ruach had left him. Sometimes when we feel strong, we have much wealth, much to live on. Perhaps you've just passed your exam. You've been promoted at work. You're doing well. The word is letting you know, be careful. Because self is like a relentless hound chasing you, stalking you, wanting you to do other than that which you desire to do and to please your Creator. And here we see that the writer, using this as adversative conjunction to illustrate a point that he wants us to know. He said, but the children of Israel committed a trespass. The contrast is when they were in Jericho, they recognized that the captain was Yah's host. He was the captain of the army. Are you with me? And so they followed him and they gained the victory, and all that they had to do was blow the shofar, and they did it 13 times, 6 times throughout the week, and 7 times on the Shabbat, 13 times, and the walls came down. Those impregnable walls came down. We're told historically that Jericho had a double wall. It came down. So with that kind of victory, with that kind of a conquest, you leave that place knowing that Ai is a smaller city. And Joshua now sent spies out to spy out the land. And they came back. Let's read on. We're in chapter 7 of Joshua. Now Yeshua sent men from Jericho, that's Jericho, to Ai, which is beside Bet-Aven or Bet-Awen, meaning house of vanity. That's what Bet-Aven means, house of vanity. On the east side of Bethel, and spoke to them, saying, go up and spy out the land. And the men went up and spied out Ai. These are intelligence officers. They were supposed to go out, spy out the land, find out what the threats are, and bring back intelligence to the commanding officer. Check it out. But the word says, and they returned to Yeshua, that's Joshua, and said to him, let not all the people go up, but let about 2,000 or 3,000 men go up and strike Ai. Do not make all the people toil up there, for the people of Ai are a few. The population of Ai was only about 12,000. Now, these men who went spy, they were told to go and spy out the land and bring back the intelligence and give it to them. But they're making decision that the captain should make, that the general of the army should make. They are making that decision. Self creeps in. Are you with me? That hound, relentless hound that stalks us. Self is saying, don't bother, we've just conquered Jericho, and this is a smaller city. We can lick them. Don't send all the people. Just send 2,000 or 3,000, and that's all right. But perhaps you have not noticed something else in the first sentence here. The writer seemingly is at pains to show us the genealogy of this man called Achan. Let's go back there. But the children of Israel committed trespass regarding that which is under the band. Are you with me? The word is telling us that Achan is the one who did what he did. But the word says Israel committed trespass, because one man's sin is corporate responsibility. It affects the whole assembly. It affects the whole group. It affects the whole nation. So when I hear people saying, that's my business, and I'm going to do all that I want to do, and nobody can stop me from doing that, you have been doing sloppy scholarship. Achan. The word says, Achan, the son of Carmi, the son of Zabdi, the son of Zerah, the tribe of Yehudah, took that which is under the ban, and the displeasure of Yahweh burned against the children of Israel. Did you get that? It says Achan is the son of Zerah. And perhaps that doesn't mean anything to you, but it should. Because if you go all the way back to Genesis chapter 38, and you remember that experience when Jacob, son Judah, decide to go up to shear sheep, and he met his daughter-in-law unknowingly, Tamar, because he would not give the young son Shelah to her to marry after the son had died, the earliest son had died, and he thought she was a prostitute. And he went into her, the outcome of which was twins. One was Perez and the other is Zerah. This is he, the twin brother, is a descendant of, or is an ancestor, I should say, of Achan. Had Jacob not got into that prostitute, we would not have an Achan. Are you with me? The sins travel all the way to the 10th generation. Are we not told that? And we pick that up, if we will, on the other leg of the twin in the Ruth chapter 4, the book of Ruth chapter 4, where David was the 10th from that generation on the side of Perez. But here we have Zerah. And so Judah's sin meanders its way through life. And now we find it in Achan, and Achan's name is troubler. When you read First Chronicles, I should say, chapter 2 and verse 5, he says he's the troubler of Israel. So the writer is saying this troubler, Achan, troubled Israel. And so the principal point here is that when one person decides they will do contrary to what Israel is asked to do, you're troubling the whole group. You're a troubler of the assembly. You're a troubler of Israel, and it ought to concern you, even as it didn't seem to concern Achan. He took that which was what? The word says, the accursed thing. What does it mean? The accursed thing here is that when they took Jericho, Jericho was the first fruits unto Yah. Nobody gets the first fruits but Yah. Just like a tithe and an offering that you give as first fruit, it belongs to Yah. And they were told there is a ban. Well, let's read it. Let's go back to chapter 6 so that we can refresh our thoughts. And let's look at verse 17 of chapter 6. It says, and the city shall be put under the ban. It and all that is in it belongs to Yahweh. Only Rahab the whore is to live, she and all who are with her in the house, because she hid the messengers that we sent. And you by all means guard yourselves from that which is under the ban, lest you come under the ban when you take of that which is under the ban and make the camp of Israel a curse, and shall trouble it, But all the silver and the gold and vessels of bronze and iron are set apart to Yahweh. They go into the treasury of Yahweh. Did you get me? The gold, the silver, all of those things were to go into the treasury. No man should get any of that, just like the tithe. So what did Achan do? Achan was stealing from Yah, even as people steal from Yah through their tithe. That's what he did. And so that which was a blessing now become a curse unto him. Are you with me? When you withhold from Yah that which you are supposed to give unto him, including yourself, you're stealing from Yah and it becomes a curse. And that's what became a corporate responsibility, because it hindered Israel from moving forward and to the conquest of Ai. And perhaps I ought to make this prophetic point that these men who went to spy out the land in Ai, they were asked to bring back intelligence, not to make decisions that the captain should make. So in that regard, in line with our old cultural situation currently, we could say that was artificial intelligence. We have Ai there, and this time in our history, we have Ai, artificial intelligence. We're really dealing with what is coming up on the earth, because with the artificial intelligence that people are bringing to us will ultimately lead to that sixth generation of what? The culture where they're replacing human beings with machines. And ultimately, chips are being developed to even implant in people. That's what we call artificial intelligence. And it's interesting that we're discussing this morning Ai, the city of Ai. And so Achan took that which belongs to Yah, and he hid it. And many people today don't really know that when they withhold from Yah, they're stealing from him, and it becomes a curse to them. And it affects the very home that they live in, the institution that they work in, the very group that they worship with. And so we're looking at this at a time that it should bring us to a sense of soberness. Let's read on. It says that let's go up and don't bring all the men. And verse 5 says, and the men of Ai struck about 36 men. Interesting, isn't it? 36. Because we're in the sixth generation. Are you with me? Of this Ai development. And 6, as you know, is the square of 6. 666. That's the period that we're in. They lost 36 men. So with all that confidence that came from Jericho, with that great victory, and the wall came down, and the people's hearts melted when they heard of Israel, they could not take a smaller city because there was sin in the camp. And nowadays, people don't even stop to think and to trace their steps. I'm talking about the churches, to understand why they're not moving forward. I don't mean numerically, I mean spiritually. They may have great numbers, but they're not moving with the speed of the Spirit as they should, because there is sin in the camp. In many cases, the word says some of the things that are happening in the church, they are abomination, but the church welcomes them. And so there are acons, plural, in the camp, in the church, in the assemblies. We've got to understand that. And so when it happened, Joshua was struck. He was amazed. Of course he would. How could we have taken Jericho and this smaller city? We could not take. How? How? He's struck. Verse 6. And Jehoshua, that's Joshua, tore his garments and fell to the earth on his face before the ark of Yahweh until evening, both he and the elders of Israel, and they put dust on their heads. That was common to do in mourning in those times. And Yeshua said, O Master Yahweh, why have you brought this people over the Jordan, that's the Jordan, the river Jordan, at all, to give us into the end of the Amorites to destroy us? If only we had been content to stay beyond the Jordan. O Yahweh, what do I say when Israel turns its back before its enemies, and the Canaanites and all the inhabitants of the land hear and shall surround us and cut off our name from the earth? What then do you do to your great name? Yeah, let's reason. Isaiah 1:18. So Joshua is now reasoning with Yah. You brought us up from Egypt, and you promised us the land of milk and honey. You told us to go in there and annihilate all the inhabitants of the land and take the land. You said that. Your word said that. And I'm holding you, Yah, accountable for what you have said. How then you feel when the people surrounding heard that we came up and a small city licked us? How will you feel? Your great name that has gone out and the people's hearts are melting, how will you feel? He's addressing the matter to Yah. Yah wants us to reason with him, because the whole thing is inexplicable. He cannot explain why they failed. And Yah said to him, Yeshua, rise up. Get up. Why are you lying on your face? What are you doing down there? You were supposed to be a conqueror. What are you doing on your face? Israel have sinned, and they have also transgressed my covenant, which I commanded them. Did you hear me? It is clear in the word that it's Achan who did it. The word here says Israel has sinned. You go to an assembly, you go to a church, and there is something in there that is an abomination and troubles Yah, offends him, and you turn around and say, that's his business. No, not according to the word. It affects the whole organism of the church. And because the church doesn't turn a higher or a furrowed brow and look at it and say that's wrong, the church cannot move any more forward, I should say. Israel has sinned. The group has sinned. Joshua could turn around and say, but I didn't do anything. And the rest of the people could say, because the rest of the people did not do what Achan did. But what Achan did, because Israel is a body and he makes a covenant with Israel, Israel sinned. You've got to understand that. Oh, yes. Israel have sinned, and they have also transgressed my what? My covenant, which I commanded them, and they have also taken some of that which is under the ban. They were banned from taking the gold and the silver because those were the first fruit that belongs to Yah. And some of that which is under the ban, and have both stolen and deceived, and also put it among their own goods. Hear me. Perhaps you now understand what Malachi is talking about. Bring ye all the tithes, the first fruit, into my storehouse. When you refuse to do that and put that in your bank account, put that in your own account, you have done no better than Achan, because Jericho was first fruits unto him. And so later on, when trouble its own, because remember the name Achan means troubler. When trouble comes to you and you're trying to trace your step, you can't understand because self doesn't allow you to look into self. You've deceived yourself. Why? Because you've stolen from Yah. And so we want to examine this because there are great lessons for us to learn. Rise up, set the people apart, and she'll say, set yourself apart for tomorrow, because thus saith Yah Elohim of Israel, that which is under the ban is in your midst. That which I told them not to touch, someone has stolen it and has hidden it in their tent. And you shall be brought near into the morning according to your tribe, and it shall be that the tribe which Yahweh takes comes according to clan, and the clan which Yahweh takes comes by household, and the household which Yahweh takes comes to men. Joshua, call the tribe together, and the families, and the individual. And don't stop, Joshua, until you found out who's done it. Who has kept the assembly from moving forward? Who has kept the church from moving forward? Who has kept the nation from moving forward? Because Joshua, until you find that out and weed that person out from Israel, you can't ever be successful in the city of Ai. You can't do that. Verse 16. So Yeshua arose early in the morning and brought Israel by their tribes, and the tribe of Yehudah was taken. Now, Judah is a royal tribe because through Judah, the Messiah would come. But you notice the ploy of Satan, how he works his little intricacies in the groups and the people to stop the Messiah coming. Because you remember, we just made mention to chapter 38 of Genesis, Bereshit, that what did Judah do? He gave his staff and his signet ring to a person he thought was an harlot. And when we read in Genesis 49 and verse 10, we are told the scepter, the ruling scepter, should not depart from what? From Judah until Shiloh comes. But Judah took his scepter, his ruling scepter, and gave it to Tamar, whom he thought was a prostitute. That's Satan working. We saw that Satan tried to kill David, because David was the man who was going to prepare the way for the Messiah to come and become the son of David. And so we watch that, and we have to be careful that self, this relentless hound, don't eat us up. Why? Because when you ignore the barking of the guard dog, the bloodhound is coming next. We've got to understand that. And so Joshua is told, you better sort this out, because I've put on you the spirit of Moses. I have blessed you in the same way, and have given you the capacity and the ability to rule well. You better do right. And don't allow Achan and his family to overrule you. You must rule according to what Yah says. Remember, Joshua, it is not I who is on your side. It is you who should be on the Yah side. Remember, this is the captain of Yah's host speaking. And so the word says, and Joshua said to Achan, my son, now give esteem to Yahweh Elohim of Israel, and make confession to him, and please declare to me, what have you done? Do not hide it from me. So Achan answered Joshua and said, truly, I have sinned against Yahweh Elohim of Israel, and this is what I did. When I saw among the spoil, it wasn't the spoil. When you take other cities, the spoil you can share. You can take anything. But now, not Jericho. Jericho is my first fruit. It is for me. Everything in Jericho must go into Yah's sanctuary. Understand that. But here he says, when I saw among the spoil a lovely garment from Shinar. Who wants a garment from Babylon in Yah's court? Achan did. And 200 shekels of silver and a wedge of gold, weighing 50 shekels. I coveted them. What did he do? His commandment said you ought not to covet. He said, I coveted them and took them, and see, they are hidden in the ground in the midst of the tent with the silver under it. To Achan, it was a secret. Are you with me? Often, we think our secrets are secret. But no, your little sin that you think is a secret, it's a scandal in heaven. It's long been a scandal because it's recorded in heaven, in the book. It's not a secret. That's why Nathan could have gone to David and said, you've sinned. David thought it was a secret. And the point I'm making again is that every time we feel strong, it is then we become weak. You remember in Matthew chapter 16, don't you? When Yeshua with his disciple, he's at that place called Caesarea Philippi, right at the foot of Mount Hermon, and he asked them, he said, well, who do men say I am? Rumors are going around the town, and people are saying that, you Jeremiah, and some are saying you Isaiah, and some are saying you John the Baptist. But you, my own people, my own disciple, my Talmudim, who do you say I am? Cut out the rumors. Clarify. And Simon Peter said, you are the Messiah, the Son of the Most High. And right at that moment in time, because nobody else was able to tell that, Peter was top of the class. Peter, in a sense, would have gotten a scholarship all the way to Cambridge to study. But it wasn't long after. He's now trying to explain to Peter and the rest of the disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things. And Peter said, no, Lord, you not so. You're not going to do that. Who is the boss here? Peter is telling the master what he should do, just like the spies came back and told the captain who they should send out, and how many? And Yeshua said, get in, Satan. Peter was now beaming just a few minutes ago, having had this commendation that, flesh and blood did not reveal that to you, but my Father, the Ruach, through the Ruach, showed you this, Peter. But in the next breath, self will lead you astray. It led this man astray. He says, I saw a piece of gold. I saw silver. And I saw a garment from Shinar. Probably a replica that Nimrod wore. I don't know. And he hid them. He knew it was wrong. Hid them in his tent. And perhaps his relatives knew that they were in there, and they did not say anything. They were complicit in it. And so when you see something happening in a church, in an assembly, and you keep quiet, you don't want to rock the boat. You're going to end up just like the family of Achan. Just like them. These things are written for our admonition. Got to understand that. And so he confessed. He said, I have sinned. I took these things and I hid them. Wow. I saw among the spoil. No, the word said there is a ban. These things are set apart for Yahweh. Put them in his treasure and burn the city. Burn it. That's what he said. Verse 22, and Yeshua sent messengers, and they ran to the tent, and see, it was hidden in its tent with the silver under it, and they took them from the midst of the tent, brought them to Yeshua and to all the children of Israel, and laid them before. So they brought the evidence. Then Yeshua and all Israel with him took Achan, the son of Zerah. Hey, with me. This is, remember, the twin brother of Perez. And the silver and the garment and the wedge of gold, and his sons and his daughters and his oxen and his donkeys and his sheep. We don't want any of this in Israel. None of it. Hey, with me. You don't want to obey the king of the universe? Then we don't want your gift in it. That's what Joshua is saying. Let's read it again for emphasis. Then Yeshua and all Israel with him took Achan, son of Zerah, and the silver and the garment and the wedge of gold, and his sons and his daughters and his oxen and his donkeys and his sheep and his tent and all that he had, and they brought them to the valley of Achor. What are they going to do? Ration them, sell them, auction them? And Yeshua said, why have you troubled us? See, his name is Troubler. Yahweh does trouble you today. Then all Israel stoned him with stones, and they burned them with the fire after they had stoned them with stones. And they raised over him a great heap of stone, which remained to this day. Then Yahweh turned from the fierceness of his displeasure. Therefore, the name of the place has been called the Valley of Achor to this day. You get that? So, one man's sin, corporate responsibility. You go to church and you see something. Why do you see something wrong and you do nothing? Why do you think in chapter 9 of Ezekiel, the man with the inkhorn, the writer's inkhorn, wrote things down and was told, you seal only those who are what? Sighing and crying, not the ones who keep quiet. Don't do anything yet. Don't trouble the city until those who sigh and cry over the abomination taking place in the temple, you have sealed them. But after that, you kill everybody, including children, and spare none. But where will you start? In the house. 1 Peter 4:17 said, judgment starts in the house. So you are used to a situation where you just go to church every Sabbath or Sunday, whenever you go. And things are happening in your church and you just sit there and say nothing because you just don't want to rock the boat. But you can't even see that the reason your church is not moving spiritually far is because there is sin in there. There are too many Achans and not enough Joshua in the churches. That is where we're at. And so it reminds us, is it not, of 1 Kings. Let's go to 1 Kings. That's Melech, 1 Kings. And we will look at chapter 12. 1 Kings chapter 12. And we will start reading at verse 25. The word says, then Jeroboam built Shechem in the hill country of Ephraim and dwelt therein and went forth from thence and built Penuel. Remember that city? All right. And Jeroboam said in his heart, now shall the kingdom return to the house of David. Perhaps you have forgotten. So let me bring you up to speed again. After the death of King Solomon, the kingdom was split. 10 tribes went to Jeroboam, and 2 remained in the south, the house of Judah. That's what happened. But Yah had made it clear that worship should be in Jerusalem. Hear me and stay with me. Yah says the place where my name is in Jerusalem. That's where I want worship. When I hear people say, well, I'm going to find a church, you better find one that Yah approves of. Otherwise, you're in trouble. Jeroboam here, who has the 10 tribe, says, I'm not going to Jerusalem to worship. I'm going to set up 2 altars, one in Bethel and one in Dan. Hear me. Verse 26, and Jeroboam said in his heart, now shall the kingdom return to the house of David. If this people go up to offer sacrifice in the house of Yahweh in Jerusalem, then will the heart of this people return unto their master, unto Rehoboam, king of Judah, and they will slay me and return unto Rehoboam, their king. Jealousy, I don't want the people to go and worship down in Jerusalem, because if they do, I will become a non-entity. And all the praise will go to Jerusalem and Rehoboam, the son of Solomon. But that's where Yah said they should worship. It doesn't matter how you feel. It doesn't matter how self is stalking you. That relentless hound. You do what is a principled thing to do, not by your feelings. Whereupon, verse 28, the king took counsel and made 2 calves of gold. You know, sometimes when we hear the truth, we don't like the truth. So we call up somebody who might tell us their opinion that agrees with us. So he took counsel and they told him, all right, make 2 calves of gold and said unto him, I mean, Has he forgotten what took place at Mount Sinai? Come on. So he made 2 calves, and what did he do? And he said unto them, it is too much for you to go up to Jerusalem. Lo, thy idols, O Israel. Did you hear that? Thy idols, O Israel. Notice he's worshiping using Yah's name. Are you with me? That brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. These idols, he said, were the ones who brought you up out of Egypt. Wow. And he set the one in Bethel, and the other he put in Dan. Remember, Dan is the first tribe that apostatized. And the thing became a sin, of course. And the people went before the one as for Dan. And the people went before the one as far as Dan. And he made a house of high places and made the priests from the whole compass of the people who were not the sons of Levi. Are you with me? The Levites were supposed to be priests, but he was making other people priests, so the Levites didn't have anything to do. We'll come to that in a minute. And Jeroboam made a festival. I don't want you to miss this. Jeroboam made a festival in the 8th month. I hope you understand where we're at. This is the Feast of Tabernacle. This very feast. Yah said in Leviticus chapter 23 that the Feast of Tabernacle is on the 15th day of the 7th month. Are you with me? Jeroboam says, I will make a festival in the 8th month, on the 15th day, a month later. He says, I'm not going to keep the festival that Yah puts on his calendar. I'm going to do my own thing, and I'm going to keep the feast on the 8th month, on the 15th day, 1 month later, 1 new moon later, 30 days later. You think you can do that? So if you don't think that you can do that, how do you think that a man can change the 7th day and make the 1st day the day to worship and call it the Sabbath? Those who do that, the word says they have Jeroboam's religion. Remember the 7th day to keep it holy. 6 days shall they do all thy work, but the 7th day is Yahweh's day. Not the Jews, Yahweh's day. Not the Gentile, Yahweh's day. Not the Greek, Yahweh's day. Not the Romans, Yahweh's day. Not the Egyptians, Yahweh's day. Not the Assyrians, Yahweh's day. And so Jeroboam says, I'm going to change the day. And so he held a festival, and he offered up on the altar, just like, hear me, he offered up on the altar just like the festival that took place in the 7th month in Jerusalem. Now let's hold it there. Hold it there. And let me read this timely for you, because it's so significant for us. I'm reading chapter 12 of 1 Kings, and I'm reading verse 32 again for emphasis. And Jeroboam made a festival in the 8th month, on the 15th day of the month, like the festival which was held in Judah. So remember, we started out with but, and we say it speaks at contrast. It's an adversative what? Conjunction. That's what we said. So we see here, he's doing exactly what they did in Jerusalem, but he's doing it another time. Question is, what if you Do what should be done on the seventh day Sabbath on the first day of the week and offer that as an offering to Yah. How would he feel? And why would he reject the offering that Jeroboam is offering here? Because it was on the wrong time, but accept something else that is on the wrong time. You get it? And the word says, verse 33, and he offered up on the altar which he had made in Bethel on the 15th day of the 8th month, in the month which he had devised out of his own heart. Sunday is a day that is devised out of people's hearts. It was never intended to be the Sabbath. The feast days, which Yah devised out of his own heart, his own mind, could never be replaced by Christmas or Halloween or Easter. We've got to understand that. So the people who do that, the word said, they have Jeroboam's religion. One man sin. Corporate responsibility. He devised it out of his own heart. Thus made he a festival for the sons of Israel and offered up on it the altar to make a perfume. Are you with me? Notice that incense that goes up of the saints, the prayer. And you go to church and, everything smells good and you think it's okay. Jeroboam did that before you. Oh, yes, he did that before you. The difference is he was doing something that Yah says should not be done. It must be on the seventh day. This is the seventh month. We are on the seventh day today. Tomorrow is the last day. And the majority of the churches are doing what Jeroboam did. One man's sin. Corporate responsibility. You can't say you didn't know and you do know. And if you do know, the word says, what must you do? Well, let me show you what you... Come with me to 2 Chronicles. 2 Chronicles, and we will look at chapter 11. Come with me there. 2 Chronicles and chapter 11. And let's look at verse 13 while you're there. And the priest and Levites that were in all Israel took their stand with him out of all their boundaries. Understand what's happening here. The Levites, they were now with the 10 tribes up north. That's where they were. And they saw what Jeroboam was doing. They knew it wasn't right. Jeroboam had bypassed them and were using lesser people to do the work. And so the Levites did not have anything. Verse 14, for the Levites left their pasture land and their possessions and came to Judah, to Jerusalem. Did you hear me? They left the north and came south. For Jeroboam and his sons cast them off from ministering as priests unto Yahweh. So when you tell people this and you say what you are doing is wrong in your church, in your assembly, it's wrong. And they ask you the question, well, what do we do and where shall we go? Do as the Levites did, come south. Are you with me? Revelation 18:14 makes it clear. Come out of my people. Come out. Be not partakers of their sins. The Levites left the north, the 10 tribes. They say we're not worshiping here. What did they leave? They leave their possessions. Did you hear me? They leave their pasture land. They left everything for worship, and they went south, and they went to the house of Judah to worship. And you sit in your church asking, well, what do I do? There's a mandate here for you. That's exactly what you do. You leave. Anybody you see preaching and practicing Jeroboam's religion, changing Yah's schedule, Yah's divine schedule, may I qualify it, and giving you the doctrines of men, the word says, get out. Get out. And you sit there watching the abomination, knowing that people are stealing from Yah, knowing that Achan and his family have disobeyed the covenant. Are you hearing me? Yah made a covenant with Israel. And you're part of Israel. And you see it, and it doesn't bother you what's going on. You are not sighing, and you're not crying. And every week you go back and expect a different outcome? Come on. Come on. Oh, I so wish there were some Joshua about to look into your tent and see what's in there. And I mean, we don't know what's happening in your home and what you do in your home. But as I said before, your little sin is a scandal in heaven because it's recorded. Are you with me? You can't hide from Yah. So we need to understand. Let's read verse 38. Well, you see, Yah is a Yah that is so patient with us that he's always saying to us, come, come. The bride says, come. Yes? The bride says, come. The bridegroom says, come. So come with me to, we'll bring this to its due closure. Chapter 12, 1 Corinthians. Verse 12. 12 verse 12. For just as the body is one, and yet hath many members, but all the members of the body, though many, are one body, so also is Messiah. One body, one church, one baptism. For even, well, let's deal with the baptism. Let's say, for example, you knew that you were supposed to be baptized in the name of Yeshua. Because only when you're baptized in the name of Yeshua are you baptized in Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. If you're baptized in Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, you're baptized in title, not name. But if you're baptized in the name, then you get Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Well, let's say you knew that. And you left that lingering like a participle. Let's say you left it lingering. And time went on, months went on, years went on, and you did nothing. But you knew that you should have been baptized in Yeshua's name, and you left it. Is that an Achan in you? Because you know better, but you didn't do better. You just left it and say, yeah, I will accept what I have. What an offering is that? You know, I read an article recently where someone drove, I think it was 14 hours or thereabout in cold of winter to be, I think it was 14 degrees Fahrenheit to be baptized in cold water, and they wanted to be baptized. But we make excuses. No, we're not going to do that because Yah will accept anything. No. Go ye therefore and baptize them. How? In the name. And so you hear this, but you ignore it. Why? Are you greater than Yah? Huh? You heard, just like Achan, that there is a ban, and you ought not to touch these things, because that which is a blessing will become an accursed thing unto you, and you still carried on as if with your peacock feathers up in the air, your iridescent plume of ignorance. Cannot be anything else. Let's come back to Corinthians. Verse 13, for even in one spirit, we are all in one body have been immersed. Whether Jews or Greek, whether bond or free, and all of one spirit have been caused to drink. For the body also is not one member, but many. Though the foot shall say, because I am not a hand, I am not of the body, is it therefore not of the body? And though the ear should say, because I am not of an eye, I am not of the body, is it therefore not of the body? Let me say it another way. Let's assume you went to the doctor. And the doctor said, well, tell me, how are you feeling? And your response to the doctor, well, I'm all right. It's just my hand. Or it's my foot. It's not me. Is not your hand part of your body? No, your hand, your foot is just members of the one body. You as a member is one member of the corporate body whom Yah has made a covenant with. Therefore, anything that you do has implication for it. You better ask Achan. It's there in the word. One body. And so let's go to Revelation, Chizayon, chapter 7. And the word wants you to know. It says, what? After this, I saw 4 messengers standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding back the 4 winds of the earth, that no wind might blow upon the land or upon the sea or upon any tree. And I saw another messenger ascending from the rising of the sun, holding the seal. Holding the what? The seal of the living Elohim. And he cried out with a loud voice unto the 4 messengers unto whom it had been given to injure the land and the sea, saying, do not injure the land, or the sea, or the trees, until we have sealed the servant of Elohim upon their forehead. And I heard the number of the sealed, 144,000, sealed out of every what? Out of every tribe of the sons of Israel. If you are not Israel, how are you going to be sealed? Tell me. If you are not a member of Israel, I don't mean geographical Israel. I mean Israel of Yah. Galatians 6:16. If you are not part of that Israel, how are you going to be sealed? Going around telling that you're a Gentile. Of the tribe of Judah, 12,000 sealed. Of the tribe of Reuben, 12,000 sealed. Of the tribe of Gad, 12,000. And he goes on to give us. Are you with me? But then we are told in chapter 14, who are these people? Who are they? Don't you want to know? Verse 4, chapter 14, these are they who with women were not defiled. They were not defiled. For they were virgins there. These are they which follow the Lamb whithersoever he was going. These, put it another way, these are they who followed his calendar. They know what day it is today. They know what day it is tomorrow. If you are on the Gregorian calendar, tomorrow means nothing to you. But tomorrow is the great day of the feast of the 7th month. Are you with me? But many will not keep it because they have Jeroboam religion and they don't care. And so it says, these were redeemed from mankind as well, first fruits unto Yahweh and the Lamb. And in their mouth was found no falsehood. Faultless they are. Did you hear that? These did not have any guile in their mouth. They were faultless. Yes, they were faultless. They were redeemed, and they were first fruits. So understand this. When you mess with the first fruit, you know what you're doing? You anger Yah. You saw what happened in Ai. They stole the first fruits, and it angered him. So those of us who are living lives worthy of the first fruit, because Yeshua, righteousness is in us, they mess with the first fruit, Yah will send the harm down. We've got to understand that. So let us look at this and understand that the experience of this man we called Achan is a lesson put in here for our admonition. He defied the ban. He stole from Yah that which was supposed to go in his treasury, and he hid it. He had a secret. You know what I found interesting? That Korah, in the book of Numbers, who died, the Bible says that Korah's children die not. But the whole family here of Achan died. What am I saying? You don't have to agree with your family. You don't have to agree with someone who is doing wrong simply because you love them. Seek Yah first and all his righteousness. And thereafter, that which you desire will be added unto you. Let this be an example for us to aspire to and to do right in his sight. In Yeshua's name I pray. Amen.